Hi, everyone. We will continue our conversation with Hande today in the second session. Our topic with managing emotions in challenging times. We specifically have chosen the topic as managing emotions in those difficult, challenging times because there's a reason for that. As Aristotle says that anybody can become angry, that's easy. But to be angry with the right person, to the right degree, for the right purpose, in the right way and at the right time, that's difficult. And that's not within everybody's power, and it's not easy. Why do we say challenging times? Hande probably would agree with me, because under ordinary and normal conditions, we can better manage our emotions and our situation. It's much easier to control the emotions. And challenging and pressure times are mainly more difficult times to test our patience as well in different ways, if you agree with me. I remember in the year 2000, I have seen in one of the websites a conference. It was the 7th Mind and Life conference that took place in India. And I remember the Dalai Lama and the Buddhist scholars met the Western scientists and different philosophers to discuss the destructive emotions, basically the feelings in the difficult times. And afterwards, Daniel Goleman has written a book called Destructive Emotions. And I was lucky to access to the book right away. And then from that moment onwards, I was very interested in the topic. Managing emotions, emotional intelligence, and everything else. What do you say about that topic, basically managing emotions in difficult times? What's your view about this?
Well, challenging times and change require certain skills to go through, such as resilience, better communication, leadership, and so on, you name it. All these skills are built on a few pillars, and one of those pillars is emotional intelligence. So I don't think that there is any better time than today to talk about emotional intelligence. Our lives turned upside down almost overnight. The world as we know has changed. Our habits have changed. Our shopping habits have changed. Our consumptions changed. So our priorities have changed. Therefore, we are almost back to the basics in Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Survival needs took over so many different needs, if you like. For many of us, fear has become a predominant emotion. Some of us dealt with this by fighting against it, like our health practitioners, or personally we took a stand as fighting for the fear. Some of us had the flight, and actually majority of us had the flight reaction to that. So these two basic reactions have the basis of the emotions. So therefore, I think this is the right time to talk about the emotions and how to manage emotions. And as you said, Daniel Goleman and his model, among all other models, have been the most popular one. There are other models as well, but this one has been very popular. And he famously said, there is intelligence in emotions, and intelligence can be brought to emotions. So we might have the fear, but how we manage that fear is important. In his model, he talks about 5 components. I'm not going to go into the details unless you would like to go into the details, but I will just give the 5 components of the emotional intelligence for the sake of the discussion of this topic. So the first one is self-awareness. Second one is emotional control or self-regulation, which I like to use more, self-regulation, and motivation, empathy, and social skills. So around these, we need to learn to manage our emotions. And if we are talking about challenging times, I think most of it would be the fear of things changing. The world is changing, so we need to adapt ourselves. That's what I would say. So what do you think about Daniel Goleman's model?
I mean, as you're right to say, it became a very popular topic in the late 1990s, basically, in the beginning of the year 2000. And emotional intelligence is of a great interest to so many researchers and scientists across the world. I mean, when I actually think about difficult emotions, basically, or when we say, I don't want to say destructive emotions, because I think there is no bad or good emotions we always discuss with you. There is no negative or positive emotions, but this is how we perceive them under different situations and conditions. But emotions such as anger, hatred, pessimism, fear, those are the difficult, out of control emotions, especially under challenging times. And we human beings, we have the mind and the heart, and our basically mission in life is to balance both, to come out with more rational decisions, and sometimes it's difficult.
Yeah, you're right, exactly. Don't forget, we are living in times that there is huge emphasis on being happy all the time. Happiness is the most important emotion, or the perception is that. So therefore, we are in the era that we are naming all other emotions that are not happiness as bad emotions. Yet emotions have certain functions in our lives. Every human being, every animal has emotions. Let's remember Plutchik's emotional wheel, or wheel of emotions, I think. Yeah. And he talks about 8 basic emotions, as you said, anger and joy and other emotions, and the mix of those emotions. So that is quite true for everyone. So we have different emotions and mix of emotions, and every single emotion has a function. So rather than labeling them as bad or good, we just need to understand the emotions better and use their power. If you are angry, how can you use that power? If you are happy, how can you use that power to change things, to achieve things?
Something else, especially if the emotion is looks like having some negative effect on our behaviors. How can we transform this difficult emotion to something more useful in our lives, to impact our own life and maybe our other people's lives as well?
Yeah, exactly. Like Viktor Frankl, he was captured in Nazi labor camp, and he wrote the famous book, Man's Search for Meaning, while he was there. And he says that, and in his book, and I love that sentence, between stimulus and response, there is a space. And emotional intelligence is all about using that space. How we are going to fill that space, with what we are filling that space. So that helps us with the transformation of the emotions and the behaviors that you are talking about.
Yeah. In many therapeutic disciplines, there's a similar saying that you can't really control what happens to you. What you can control is how you respond to external events.
Exactly.
Basically, this is what you say that Viktor Frankl is mentioning. I always remember the ancient Greek philosophers like Plato and Aristotle. They talk about those topics a lot, about, self-awareness is like know thyself, know yourself better.
Yeah,
so
Socrates, yes, exactly.
Yeah,
That's
Socrates is the same. And Plato and Aristotle put forth the important components of mind and soul as intellect, sentiment, and will. Basically, those are, rational thinking, emotional thinking, and behavioral way of, showing those thoughts and emotions at the same time. So it actually brings back us again to the same area. In therapy as well, we just talk about the same thing all the time: what we think, what we actually feel, and how we put all of those things into the action, into an action plan in real life. So yeah, I believe that it's a long journey, it's a long personal journey, I think,
It
to
is
handle
indeed.
emotions anyways. And
It is indeed. It's the same with coaching. You're so right. I mean, when asked about to sum it up all the philosophical commandments, Socrates said, "Know yourself." So that summarizes everything. So in executive coaching, we translate this into self-awareness. And we help the coachee to study the emotional states, working on blind spots in your Hari window, if you like, and accept and live variety of real emotions rather than ignoring or denying them. And that's a big and important issue in today's world, that in the business world, at work, there is this belief that there is no place for emotions. That is not true. We are all emotional beings. We all hold emotions. Everything we do comes from emotions. I mean, if we try to ignore our emotions and try to be very rational, it doesn't work, because let's accept human beings are irrational beings. So we are irrational. If we start from that, we will need to understand more of our emotions, and that comes with the self-awareness. If we are not aware of our emotions and then learn how to manage them, to transform and to change things, or to do things, or to move forward, then we will badly fail, if you like. So that's what we try to do in executive coaching. And we also try to help the coaches to use their emotions, as I said, as the information that is the gut feeling, that the heart, the body are telling you what you need to do, what you should do, what is important and what is not. So that is, self-awareness, I would say, is the most important thing, I think, in emotional intelligence.
Yeah. The whole life, I think, is about discovering what's the self-knowledge, what's the knowledge about ourselves. It's a long journey. It goes on until the end of our lives, basically. And they always say that there's no failure, only learning. That's what I remembered when you were talking about the failure. I think, again, when we change the meaning of words under every context, then probably when we play well with the words, we can reformulate our emotions as well. And I try to avoid the negative words when they have a negative connotation, not the emotions, but the words themselves, so that I can manage the situation much better, because then you can benefit from all those different range of emotions as primary resources. The leverage effect of those emotions is important in the life. I think maybe the key concept is about balancing the rational with the emotional part of our lives. I mean, we are irrational beings, that's true, as human beings. We are learning to be more rational with the experiences we have in the life, but still, if we can a bit find out the balance between the rational and the emotional, then we control better all kinds of emotions.
Exactly. And coaching would help the person to connect with the connected rational decision-making process with the emotions. So that's what emotional intelligence is all about, actually, especially for the leaders who have to make a lot of decisions in one go. Coming back to the negative words, the words might be there, but what we attach to it, what we label, how we label them emotionally is up to us. The word failure doesn't mean failure for someone who looks at it as an opportunity. So that's how you can manage your emotions. So that's the important thing. Well, if I would like to ask you, actually, what would be our practical solutions for the people who are watching us to improve
That's
their emotional intelligence?
that's the most difficult question. I can only, I think, mention about my own experiences and my own, knowledge about that. I think everybody has very much good answers for that question. What I can say, again, going back to the verse, because I have a quite strong relationship with the verse as I am writing as well at the same time. So I suggest myself and everybody to maybe recreate our own dictionary of words and reformulate the meaning of everything, positive or negative, in the dictionary. That's one of the suggestions. So you do your own dictionary of words so that you can benefit from it. When I feel pressure, especially in difficult times, in any challenging times, as we spoke about, I suggest myself to slow down a bit, to take a step back, not to rush for anything and think about what's happening. A little pause, I think, is very much useful to move forwards. When we pause in life for everything, before we say anything to anyone, before we send any email to anybody, I always try to use this pause moment. I sleep over the experience a bit. Sometimes when you write a difficult email to someone, it's better not to send it right away, maybe to wait a night, because the next morning when you reread your email, it will sound differently to you, probably. When you want to say something a bit difficult to someone, it's better to pause a bit. A couple of hours make a big difference sometimes in somebody's life.
Yeah.
So you don't hurt, or you don't, just create any negative experience on the other person's. And especially in challenging times, it's also important to divert our attention from the stress and burden and to focus the mind on things you really enjoy doing. For me, those things are basically literature, art, a bit psychology as well, personal psychology, so that you're not dominated by ruminations, those loops or recurring negative cycles which are happening in life. I think appreciation is very crucial. You need to appreciate all things, and that should be consistent. So consistent gratefulness is very crucial. It's mentioned almost in all religious teachings and spiritual teachings, appreciation and gratefulness, but we forget about it basically. If you wake up healthy in life, that's a big appreciation. We need to be grateful every morning if you can wake up healthy. I always believe as well that life is a platform of so many different choices. So we have a wide range of choices waiting for us. If one thing doesn't happen right now, the other thing might be waiting. Something else at the end of the tunnel might be waiting for us. I give so many positive affirmations to myself as well. You don't need anybody to reward you or to recognize your emotions all the time. It's good that if they are recognized by a second person, but sometimes you need to do your own positive affirmation in life. And I think I keep learning, unlearn and relearn things, which enriches my mind, and I can actually I can move forward in life with more constructive emotions if I do all of those things. Those are small things, but they work. They're very powerful. What I can say from my experience, again, volunteering and giving is important in life. When you give to someone else, even a little smile, sometimes like a little appreciation, a little thank you, those are important things. Faith and spiritualism is equally important, especially in challenging times. So I believe we need to take conscious decision to step in optimism, in positive thinking, when you feel stuck in challenging emotions. This is our decision and our decision only. This is what I believe on the personal level. And I hope that can help everybody else as well.
Well, I think I would. All these are great advices. I think slowing down. One of you also mentioned that is really important because slowing down helps you to speed up. So I know there is an irony in that, but it's really important. I would suggest the person to use the power of stress and then to turn this into something more creative. And do one thing at a time. I know that most of the time leaders are bombarded with so many different things at the same time, but please try to put them in an order and do one thing at a time. And I would recommend everyone to have a routine, especially if your day is out of your control most of the time, that you are in and out of the meetings. At the beginning of the day, have a routine. Either review your day and your calendar, have a cup of coffee, have 10 minutes of you time, me time, so that you can think about what you want to achieve that day. That's very important, and that will hopefully help you to be more tolerant to uncertainty, because the challenging times comes with uncertainty. Practice mindfulness most of the time. If you can do that, that's really helpful. That's at the personal level. At the team level, in challenging times, we want to create resilient teams, and to do that, the most important thing is to give them, as a leader, to give the team a positive vision of the future, and help them to understand what they do will make a positive difference for the future that they are trying to build. So it might be difficult times, but this will come to an end. And if we do this and that, then we will be there all together as a team. So that is very important. And I think for the at the corporate level, I would say emotional intelligence will help the corporates to be more innovative, because innovation has two components. One of them is creativity, the other one is adaptation, and adaptation comes with emotional intelligence, and creativity comes with emotions managed in a more positive way. So for the corporates, emotional intelligence will help them to be more innovative, which is needed in this challenging times. That would be my recommendation.
Oh, great. So with this, we came to the end of the second session as well. We would like to thank everybody for listening to us. So it was a great pleasure having the second session, and hopefully see you at the third session.